Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to do some indoor photography today and I am super excited to show you all of the gear that I use to make these videos. We're talking about how to set up a flat lay picture of all of your gear. Now this could be just for Instagram purposes to sort of promote your brand. Maybe you just want to show off all your gear. Sometimes I do it as a sort of mental stock of what I actually have on a sort of year-to-year basis as well, to see how my gear's changing over the years. I know that's quite nerdy, but I quite enjoy that. One of the things we're going to talk about is lighting. So whether you want a nice bright flat lay or whether you want a nice dark moody flat lay, we're going to talk about all of that right now. This is my final tweaked flat lay. There's a lot going on here, as you can see. So basically I'm going to take a big step back and show you what the room looks like at the moment. We've got one light here, which is fairly low. I mean, that's like kind of waist height for me. And then we have this light, which is very high. That's about, I don't know, 7 foot high, maybe even taller, which is kind of coming in at a 45-degree angle, shooting this way. So there was a little bit of a hot spot at this end of the photograph, but I think I fixed that by just moving the light further back just a couple of bits. I wanted to be quite a nice soft light on this. The traditional way of shooting this kind of layout would be to just shoot it directly from above, but I wanted to make it moody and dark, so you can't really do that. If you're doing that, you're kind of flooding the whole scene, all the light over everything. In fact, I can show you how that would look. Hang on. So if there was a light above it, that's what it looks like. That's a warm light right enough, but that's kind of how it would look. It's very flat. I know it's supposed to be a flat light, but not that flat. So I like to kind of bring the light in from low, so you're getting more of a sort of, I'm not using this light, this is just to show you how it's sort of, how I move the light about. But just for demonstration purposes, I keep it low on one side and high on the other, so you're getting a good mix of light. So you're getting dramatic coming from one side and softness hitting it from the other side, and I really like that because you get a really lovely sort of halo down either side of anything that's metallic. So this is what it looks like now that I've moved this light slightly closer. I'm still going to keep it nice and low. I love what it's doing to the Mac on the side over here and how it's lighting up all my hard drives. I love that it gives the Canon lens a little bit of a highlight to one side, slightly stronger than the other. I also love what it's doing to the Mavic Pro. You've got a really nice highlight kind of tick in the front of the unit there. And the Pentax looks awesome. It's getting some nice highlights on it as well. But that's kind of how the final photo would probably look. I'll take a shot just now. I'm filming everything on the Canon, which is up here. So I'm going to take a shot on the Canon. I'm probably going to make it a little bit higher to make sure that I get everything in, because ideally what I want is to have a little bit of a border of this grey carpet. I really like the neutral colours of the grey carpet. I've deliberately chosen my coffee table because it's this sort of dark walnut kind of wood, and I think that really complements the sort of dark, moody kind of photograph that I'm going to try and create. This has changed already since I just spoke to you. It's changed layout and everything. I've even added stuff to that I completely forgot about. You don't realise how much stuff you actually have until you have it in front of you, and then you realise that you have a lot of stuff. So now I'm pretty happy with it. These are definitely the main things that I use on pretty much every single shoot that I go on, and also for every single video that I actually make for YouTube as well. Once you get to this stage, it's all about tweaking the layout. Now this applies to any flat lay that you do. You want to make sure that you have texture, you want to make sure that you have layers, you want to make sure that everything looks symmetrical. The first thing you have to consider when you're doing a flat lay is, what is your tone? Do you want it to be dark? Do you want it to be bright? Do you want it to be colourful? Do you want it to be moody? Do you want it to be smoky? Do you want it to be vintage looking? Like, you have to have a tone or a theme, and then your tone will then fit in with that theme. So for this case, I want things to be almost black and white with a little bit of colour coming through. So the only thing that's going to really show colour in this picture will be the table, because it's that beautiful dark walnut colour. And also there's some of my hard drives are bright orange, so they're they're going to stand out as well, and they're really going to kind of draw your eye to certain parts or certain areas of the picture. And that's kind of the whole point. You want it to be a journey for the viewer. So you want it to be, they're starting off somewhere and then they sort of, their eye just kind of wanders down the table to see what else there's there. I hadn't seen a lot of flat lays done out with food photography. That's what I was what I do. Flat lays that I've seen on Instagram have completely inspired me to try and do this myself. There's one particular Instagram page that I follow called Pixel and Lens Club, and they're doing a flat lay competition just now, or they're doing a sort of challenge at the moment, and I thought I would get involved and see what I could come up with. The tripod that I'm shooting with means that I can shoot directly down the way as well. I'm using a heavy duty Manfrotto tripod. When you're shooting gear, you have to think about your gear. So the last thing you want to happen is for your heavy lens on your camera to sort of fall forward and land on your iPad Pro screen. Could you imagine how devastating that would be? So the other thing you have to think about is your backdrops. You have to think about what you're shooting on. Are you going to be shooting on something light? Are you going to be shooting on something dark? Are you going to be shooting on a backdrop? Are you going to be shooting on something glass? Are you shooting on something metallic? You have literally limitless possibilities for what you could actually use. Now, because everything for me is black or silver or grey, I decided to shoot on something a little bit lighter. So lighter wood seems to appeal to me. It's still dark wood, but lighter wood seems to appeal to me. And then I'm going to frame it with the grey carpet underneath, a sort of rug underneath, which gives it that little boost of texture as well. Plus it sort of complements that neutral tone I was trying to go for. So the other thing you want to think about is your layout. So this layout probably took me a good half an hour to finalise and be really happy with, and I'm really happy with it now. I'll just give you a quick look at what it looks like. So I think once you have all those things sort of locked in, it's really just a case of tweaking your layout, making sure that you have all the things that mean a lot to you in that frame. Who doesn't want to make their gear look really cool? Let's face it. So we're going to move on to one more layout just so I can show you the difference between dark and moody and nice and bright. But we're going to move on to that in one wee second once I've actually taken this picture, and then I can show you how this photograph looks now. Photograph that I've been working on is the sort of brighter, airier, flat lay picture that is very common on Instagram. You get a lot of stock photos like that as well, where sort of folk are working on a computer. So I took a photograph of me working at my computer. This is basically what the setup was. It's a lot simpler, there's less stuff on the desk, and I think that just makes for a sort of cleaner image. You want it to be clean and simple when it's bright and airy, whether that applies to food or gear or whatever you're shooting. If you're doing a sort of brighter flat lay, I would always recommend that you just do fewer stuff on the table. Means more simplicity. It gives it that sort of minimalist look, which a lot of people seem to love just now as well. Especially if you sort of handpick your colours that you're going to use in the picture. If you're doing just a black and white theme, then just make sure everything's black and white. If you're doing a sort of natural theme, which is what this one's based on, then you're using lighter natural woods, white sort of surroundings or white accessories in the frame as well. In this case, I've used my phone, which is white, my AirPods case, which is white, and a bright orange hard drive, which kind of goes really well with the sort of silver of the MacBook. Very deliberately placed in the scene as well to make it look more interesting. Obviously your eyes are drawn to the hands in the picture, which I'll just show you that just now. But yeah, this is a very simple shot. The lighting for this setup was literally natural light coming in from the windows on both sides of this room, but also apart from that I also had the two sort of static lights on either side of the desk facing directly into the desk, so you're being flooded with even more light. I shot at ISO 800 to make sure that we had as much light hitting the sensor as possible as well. I shot at f5.6 for this particular picture at 100th of a second, just to make sure there was a little bit of sort of, not softness in the picture, but that sort of dreamy sort of depth of field. But just like the other picture that I took on the table, everything has to be meticulously placed into place. You have to sort of faff about with that a wee bit to make sure that it's as pleasing to your eyes as possible as well. I'm not sure which one I would prefer. I think my sort of style of photography seems to be leaning towards the sort of darker side rather than the lighter side. A lot of the food photography that I used to shoot was always leaning towards the lighter side, but there is a huge trend just now about sort of food photography being darker and more rustic looking, and that really works as well. So it's entirely your taste and what you want to sort of bring to the image. Personally, I used to shoot a lot of colourful food, so everything would sort of be based around that and it'd be very colourful and vibrant. But this sort of style of photography can be absolutely anything that you want. It's your own personal taste. So my own personal taste would lean me towards the table shot because it's got a lot more stuff in it, it's more interesting to look at, and the lighting's just awesome. Whereas this one is bright and lovely and airy, but I think my sort of style of photography would be more suited to that than it would be to this. But this is still cool though, it still looks really good. Obviously I'm a photographer, so I've got photography related stuff on the table, but if you're a writer or you just want a really nice picture for your blog of you sort of as flatly of you working and you're a writer, you might want to have your journals out, you might want to have all your beautiful pens on display. It really depends. This is what it's all about. If you're a mechanic and you want to make your website look completely different to everybody else's, you could have all your tools on a flatly. That would look awesome. In fact, if there's any mechanics out there who want that picture taken, give me a phone, because I would love to do that. I did a photograph for BMW years ago, and it was a sort of flat lay, but it was on a wall. And what I did was I had two different flashes on either side of the wall shooting up and then very, very close to the wall, so they created long shadows up the wall. And on the wall was all the tools that they need on a sort of pinboard type thing. It was black and white and it looked fantastic, and it was one of my absolute favourite pictures I've ever taken. I'm one of these kind of people who would get lost for hours just tweaking it and making it look better and then changing the lights to make it look the way I wanted. But I'm all about dramatic pictures when it comes to flat lays, and I think that's what works really, really well. If you want to see more flat lay sort of pictures, definitely do a search on Instagram, but you don't have to go too far. Peter McKinnon seems to have like started this movement of flat lay photography where he just puts everything in the frame. He basically just empties his pockets and shoves it on a table and then takes pictures of it. And fair dues, if that's your bag, that's your thing. I don't have anything in my pockets, so I can't do that. I don't carry anything in my pockets, so I can't do a flat lay carry on, whatever they call it. Carry on? I don't have a flat lay carry because I don't have anything in my pockets. So all I ever have is a phone and my keys, and that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this wee introduction into flat lay photography. It's been very, very relaxed, but I hope you've got something from it anyway, and it's maybe inspired you to try your own sort of flat lay photography. But remember, it can be anything and it can be any surface that you shoot on. So if you do decide to do that, tag me in your pictures on Instagram so I can see them. Just before I go, I have something very, very exciting to tell you about. Just wait on 2 seconds. I finally done it. I did it last year and didn't go to print. And this year, I decided to make a calendar. How beautiful is that? It's A3, it's massive. It's almost as big as my head, but that's the front, that's the back, and that's all you're going to get to see just now. Because it's just beautiful. It's got, this is my proof print that I got from the printers, so I could have a look at it and do some tweaks, because you know I like to do that. January, right there. I'm not going to take you through the rest, but that's January. This is a sort of quality of images that I'm really proud of it. I didn't do it last year because I wanted to make sure that it was absolutely perfect and that I chose 12 of my absolute best photographs. Now, to give you a quick zoom look at this, there's a picture of this on my Instagram, so you can actually see the photographs I've actually chosen. But there's some last minute late entries into this calendar that I didn't expect to get in. But there's a few here that people seem to absolutely love on Instagram, so I've decided to print them and put them in here. But also they're now available on my website, which is now live also. They're out for pre-order just now, so they're out for pre-order until the 1st of September. After that date they will start to ship to everybody. So far, I know quite a few of you have already pre-ordered one, so I would like to extend a massive, massive thank you to everybody who's already pre-ordered. I'm so overwhelmed by the support that this has already had. It is a long time in the making, this calendar. I've had it for about 2 years, sitting and waiting in the wings. I've been tweaking some of the photographs, pulling some out, putting some in. This is it. I'm so happy with it. It's perfect, and I'm glad that you guys like it as well. But if you would like to pre-order it, just go to my website, get yourself a wee copy too. Shameless plug over. Yeah, I'm really happy with it, and as I also said, my website also has my prints now available too. So thank you so much for watching the videos. If you like this video, then like and subscribe, and until next time, I'll see you soon. Bye.